Okay, so I'm very excited about this episode. I've known Emily for a long time, and I guess we met through Kristen, I think, but I
Yeah,
feel like I knew who you were just from business, and I knew you were in Enactus and stuff. But maybe, yeah, definitely during our Mun years, we ended up having a few drinks at your house every now and then.
good old Memorial University days.
Yeah. But since then, well, even then and since then, you have been a woman of many talents, I feel. And I was like, there's so much that we could talk about, but maybe today we'll just do like a general overview of all the things that you do and that you're involved in. But maybe do you want to just start with like your education? And I feel like you have a lot of different career paths, but maybe like your education and your current career.
Love it. So I grew up Grand Falls, Windsor on an egg farm. Swore my entire life I was never doing anything in the agricultural sector. I wanted to get as far away from Newfoundland as possible. I was going to Bay Street or Wall Street and living the rest of my life in a suit. Went to Memorial University to be an accountant. My big plan was to do accounting and then be a corporate lawyer and again move out of Newfoundland. Through doing my degree at Memorial University, got involved with Enactus, a lot of kind of extracurricular type work, doing social enterprise and kind of entrepreneurship work across our province, and then realized how much I love Newfoundland. So teaser to my story, I've always tried to leave Newfoundland for probably 10 years through university and kind of early career days. But it really is true what they say that you can't take a Newfoundlander out of Newfoundland. So did accounting, thought I had my whole life figured out. Was going to do corporate law afterwards, and in my senior or my final year at MUN, a project that we started through Enactus, I ended up turning into a social enterprise, got into kind of the entrepreneurial space, and yeah, put aside accounting before I even started my full-time job with Ernst& Young, and have spent the last 10 years now almost since university doing entrepreneurship work. I got into wealth management, a lot of like Indigenous relations work, kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I feel like there's been so much. I didn't know that you were gonna do accounting. That's so funny. But I definitely relate to like leaving Newfoundland. I always thought that I would too. And I was like, yeah, like after Mun, after this thing, after the next thing, and like never ended up leaving. And then after COVID, I was like, I actually want to live here. Like I love leaving. And so do you. We'll get into that too. But yeah, I definitely get that. Like I feel like a lot of people want to leave when they're young, and then when you actually get a bit more established, you're like, I just want to make it better here.
Yeah. And honestly, COVID was around the same time it changed for me. Going into COVID, I was supposed to move to Boston for a year for a bit of the school board work that we were doing with Succeed down there. And obviously, COVID hit, no one was leaving. And I think that was kind of the big shifting point because since COVID, like, yes, I've traveled and kind of left for short periods of time, but haven't made any type of large jump since.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess maybe talk about Succeed a little bit, like what that is and how that came to be.
Yeah. So third generation agriculture kid. My grandfather used to do a lot of work in rural Labrador, but mostly from a veterinarian perspective. So him and my grandmother had a boat and they'd take it up to a lot of the fly in, fly out communities in the summer and do veterinarian work in these communities. So growing up, I had heard so many stories about, especially rural Labrador and those fly in, fly out communities. My grandmother loved them. My grandfather loved going up there. So when I was part of the Enactus memorial team, I became the team's president, and food security was a big issue that was being talked about a lot at that time. There was heartbreaking stories coming out of some of the more rural communities of our province of 90% of people being food insecure, paying $13 for a moldy pepper. And our team really focused in on that of like, this is happening in our own province. How do we start to make changes? Going back to my agricultural roots, and rural Labrador had a special spot in my heart. We designed these small scale hydroponic gardens. teamed up with Choices for Youth. So we had an employment model that was set around it for Choices for Youth to do all of the production of the gardens. Started doing food insecurity work across northern Canada. I got to spend the next 3 years going to Northwest Territories and Nunavut to Labrador and everything in between, and just kind of discovering what food insecurity looked like in different places. That was about the time when I was graduating. I had my job lined up with Ernst& Young, thought I had my whole life figured out, and I had lost my grandfather a couple years before. And when I told my grandfather I was doing accounting, he laughed at me and said that I'm not an accountant. And I was like, yes, I am. Like, I can do that. Um, but losing, I think people that are close to us kind of put in perspective what our heart really wants to be, and it makes you think about like what is the legacy that you want to leave in the world. And for me that wasn't accounting, it was wanting to do something entrepreneurial. I was really close with Succeed. It made me feel closer to my grandfather, so I just knew in my heart that this wasn't the time to be an accountant, and I was about to take the entrepreneurial journey similar to him. um, Jumped into that and kind of realized that food insecurity isn't just a challenge in northern communities. We see food insecurity happening across Canada, even in more of like the southern parts of the country. So we expanded our model to be education first and started doing work in classrooms across Canada, teaching kids to grow fresh produce, about hydroponics, the importance of food production, and then have just kept growing from there.
That's so cool. I didn't know the family history behind that, but that's so cool. Yeah, and that's like those are businesses that I love to see and like working for like my main job is Misa, like working for a company that has what's the word? Like
People
ethical and like purposeful yeah, like intentions and like that makes such a difference. And it's easy to support businesses like that because you can see the effect that they have. And like I think everybody, no matter where they are in Canada right now, like even with food security or whatnot, like groceries are expensive, the cost of living is expensive, and there's so much that we can do on our own without relying on like, you know, grocery stores or whatever.
Yeah. We
Interesting.
do like growing hacks in the classroom, which is one of my favorite things. And it looks at taking what we would look at as mostly food scraps and think about how can we make them go further. So like regrowing your green onion or regrowing lettuce if you get the hydroponic ones and you can put it in water to keep it more nutritious and more healthy, looking at microgreens,
Hmm.
using food scraps for different things. Like there's so many ways we can make our food go further, that we often just take for granted sometimes.
Yep, totally. So then aside from Succeed, what other positions do you currently hold?
Great question.
It's like,
So
okay, when people are like I know my friend so well, but like don't know what she does for work. This is someone actually asking their friend, like, what do you do? What are all the things?
yeah, it's definitely a bigger conversation than most. Um, so Succeed, obviously, my full-time job is I'm actually a wealth advisor with CIBC Wood Gundy. So I spend most of my days building stock portfolios, doing financial planning, um, helping people retire quicker. And what really drew me to kind of that industry is the fact that there's like entrepreneurship is a male dominant industry, agriculture is a male dominant industry, wealth management is even more male dominated. So when I started with CIBC Wood Gundy here in St. John's, I was one of three females, and there's over 100 IROC licensed people across the province. So there's such a need for women to get more involved with finances, to understand what their path is, and to create financial independency. So that became a really close spot in my heart, especially taking that entrepreneurial journey. I also work at the Memorial Center for Entrepreneurship, so I'm an entrepreneurship in residence. And each year I get to have a cohort of students from MUN that are all starting businesses and take them through that whole startup process, which is amazing. I sit on a couple of boards, the Canadian Agricultural Youth Council, so I get to advise agricultural policy. I spend a lot of time working, but I love it all.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun. And those are like interesting jobs. It's like things that you're actually passionate about that you want to like make change and improve.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's it's been interesting.
Yeah, but you're very busy. And yet, well, we'll get into this after, but like, yet you still have so much time to travel and like have a bit of a social life.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, so I guess like tying all your jobs together, if someone wants to get started with entrepreneurship or um, maybe even not starting a business, but just kind of figuring out their financial goals, maybe these are two separate questions. But if you're someone who wants to get started with entrepreneurship, like that can be very daunting. And like I know even with like starting speed dating, like that's a fairly small venture, but it still takes a lot of time and it's still a lot of things to consider. And like the money part of it is kind of a lot to handle and time consuming. And like I've even asked you some advice on that. So for someone who wants to start that path, what should they do?
First of all, speed dating is not small. Like the impact that you've had so quickly is amazing, and don't ever discount that.
Well,
But
thank
like,
you.
no, but like it's huge. Like taking that first step of entrepreneurship, especially when you're creating a venture that's going to be publicly facing, is terrifying. Like you don't know who's going to show up that first event.
Mhm.
Like there's so many pieces to it and risks that you have to face in early stages of entrepreneurship. My biggest piece or biggest piece of advice for people who want to get started is understand your problem and fall in love with the problem. The road to entrepreneurship isn't easy if you become an entrepreneur because you want to get rich fast. That's not the easiest way to do it. I can tell you a dozen ways that it would be easier. The road to entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. You're going to have the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. You don't get like a to-do book on how you be an entrepreneur, how do you build a venture. It's different for every single person. But the one thing for me that always rings true is if you find a problem that you care about and you obsess over your problem instead of the solution that you want to create, that's where you see entrepreneurship most successful. So for me, I fell in love with this idea that I believe that even living in like rural Newfoundland and Labrador, that we all deserve access to fresh, affordable produce. And because I fell in love with that problem versus the hydroponic garden that we created, it's allowed Succeed in our team to adapt and pivot and move, and for it to never feel like we're going through a big failure because we pivot, because we understand that we're learning more about the problem that we're in love with, and that problem grows and changes. COVID massively affected food insecurity. Our food transportation systems, in terms of like what's happening in different geopolitical standpoint or in different geopolitical settings, has a huge effect on our food. So finding that problem that you love, that you care about, that you're willing to let your brain obsess about is where to start, because entrepreneurship isn't going to be easy. And if you don't deeply care about what you're working on, it's probably not going to work.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm thinking back to like all the business courses I did at MUN and how like they kind of say that like you need to be solving a problem and like even some of the like largest businesses like that might have started out with something silly. Like I remember watching the video on the like the nylon potato head that grows grass. Like that was like a multi-million-dollar company or something, but it was something that like you cannot get elsewhere. They put it in stores strategically. Like when you're smart about it and when it's something that isn't offered and like even if it's something that may not be a need, but something that people want. And obviously yours is a need and a want, so that makes sense.
It's so true. It's
Interesting.
been great, like little idea. Like I love the story behind Spanx
Mm,
and how like if you listen to some of the commentary that Sarah's put out there and her videos about how she just wanted to help women. Like she thought it was ridiculous that we like these products didn't exist. Yeah, so like Sarah really wanted to get her product out there and was getting these like little letter holders that she could put the Spanx inside of and just putting them on countertops places. She didn't ask for permission to put it there, but she knew that that's the strategy that she needed to build her business, and she was willing to go the extra mile. Like that's not an easy thing to do, to walk in and just put your own displays
mhm.
in stores, but yeah.
Yeah, I think getting started might be the hardest part,
Definitely.
and then
It's
staying organized.
yeah. And keeping yourself accountable. Like when you start a business, you don't have a boss that's saying, okay, you need to get this deliverable done today. Like this is the direction I want you to go. You have to decide that. And if you're tired because you're working your full-time job, or maybe you have family things going on, or you want to go out with your friends, like there's no one to give that kind of external deadlines to you. You're in the
Hmm.
driver's seat.
Yep, totally. And speaking of like time with friends then, so you are very, I mean, like I said, you do still have a social life, but you also have traveled a lot. So can you just give me like maybe an overview? Did you do 30 countries before you were 30? Was that a thing?
Yes, it was.
Okay. How did that come to be?
So growing up, my parents traveled with me like very young, like before, like I was a couple months old, and they would strap me to their back, and I was gone here, there, everywhere else. Um, until the point that I was in high school, like we would travel maybe like once a year as a family. Most of my family actually lives in Europe or Turks and Caicos, so we'd go visit them a lot, spend
That's a
some time.
great place to have family to visit. Wow.
They're two beautiful countries. Or like, well, Europe's a continent. Most of them are in the UK. Um, so when I got to the point where I was at MUN, I had mostly just been to Europe, the US, and like Jamaica or Dominican Republic, some down south places. Nowhere that I'd consider exotic or kind of different. And through Enactus, I got involved with some of the international work that we were doing and got to travel to some amazing places for some of the World Cup competitions. So during my university years, I got to go to Haiti, I got to go to South Africa, to China, Europe, the US. Um, and through that, I really fell in love with the developing world. Like to go to places that just felt like complete culture shock, that I was learning something new every single day, and you just didn't know what to expect when you showed up there. Like the first time I went to Haiti, I was honestly terrified. I was like, where am I going? I've never been anywhere like this before. Um, we had like a car with us and like someone local at all time to like bring us through different places the first time, and then the second and third time I went down, we were more comfortable. But I fell in love with the people down there. Some of the most like resilient, beautiful people, and you don't expect it. The food was amazing. The culture was incredible. Like we got taken into families' homes, and it was one of the most impactful countries that I've ever been to because it was not anything like I had expected. So that trip kind of sparked my love of going to the developing world. And more for me, it didn't just become a love, but it became a requirement. Because when I'm here in St. John's, or if I'm somewhere with like good Wi-Fi and cell service, like I'm gonna keep working. Like things still happen even if you're taking time off. And it's impossible for me to turn off the phone and be like, no, like
Mhm.
I'm gone. But going to the developing world, often I don't have cell service during the day, or I don't have access to good internet. I can't plan to do things because I don't know where I'm going to be and what the Wi-Fi or cell service situation is going to look like. So I fell in love with going to like Sri Lanka and like Guatemala and just places totally off the radar because that's the only place I could totally disconnect and just de-stress. I didn't have anything planned work-wise. I was pushed out of my comfort zone, like traveling to the developing country and trying to figure out how you're getting between one place to the other, or if this is okay to eat or what you need to do. It pushes you a bit, and it would take me away from thinking about work to just being present in that moment and realizing that these moments probably are never ever going to happen again. And it just gave me a love to like disconnect. So now, at least twice a year, I have something booked in my calendar of like, okay, I'm going here, I'm off grid, I'm gonna experience the culture, and it kind of just kept getting like bigger and bigger and bigger. Big about goal setting. So when I was 28, I realized I'd been to 25 countries, and I was like, how cool would it be to do 30 before 30?
Mhm.
Knock that last one in there to make it happen. Now I'm at 46 countries and growing. So my new
Oh my
big
God.
goal is 60 countries before 40. So
Oh my God, that's so cool.
yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I did an episode, a two-part episode with a friend of mine who had done a lot of traveling. like a lot of backpacking and stuff. And we were just comparing like our two backpacking trips and like travel versus vacations and things like that. And I was telling a story about like being stuck on a train station in Amsterdam and not noting or not noticing like any of the signs and like not knowing where I was or anything. And like moments like that kind of, like you said, very much outside of your comfort zone. But seeing how other people live and like, I mean, especially like as an entrepreneur or someone who deals with like customers, like knowing what other people may be going through or what other people experience in different parts of the world, like I think that's probably very enlightening, even like not from a work standpoint, but just to understand the world better. I think so many people should be forced to travel. And I think a lot of people in the world wouldn't be as hateful and would probably be more understanding of other people if they were forced to travel and like see how other people live. But
So
anyway,
true.
those are the thoughts I had while you were saying all that. But yes, 40 countries by, or no, 60 countries by 40.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're on a path. Just to hop back to what you're saying, I think it's like so true. Like it gives you such a deep appreciation to A, how lucky we are to be born in Newfoundland and Labrador, to be living here, especially given some of the geopolitical conflicts that are happening in the world right now. But it also, I think, like leaving Newfoundland, leaving Canada, or just leaving your home for a little bit, it gives you that opportunity to have a deeper appreciation for your home and the things that you might take for granted. Like we take for granted in Newfoundland our scenery all the time. And we take for granted like how kind Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are. And sometimes we focus on the large amounts of snow that we get or that
Yeah.
or it's RDF all the time. Um, but given like the comparison to other places that we could be living, like we're all very, very fortunate to call
Hmm.
this place home.
That's true. And I think people who haven't traveled as much maybe don't realize that either. Like they probably take more things for granted. I know that when we were stuck here, like to go back to COVID, when we were stuck here during COVID, I definitely noticed the scenery. I was like, man, there's so many nice hikes and like just so many nice places. Even when you go to a city, like I went to Toronto all the time because I had friends there, and like the privilege of having a backyard,
Yeah,
like that was something that I was like, man, I didn't appreciate that. Like I have a like a private backyard. That's crazy.
yeah. It's so true. It's all those little things that we
Yep.
take for granted sometimes.
Really changes your perspective. Okay, so also, I talk about dating a lot on this podcast because when I started it, I was single and I'd been single for a while. And I feel like dating everywhere, like having friends in so many different places, really made me realize that the struggles are the same, like whether you're on the west coast or east coast of Canada, or like even some people in the States or even in Europe, like people that I've met are having the same experiences, which is really interesting. But I think for our age group, like we're all so connected, like more connected than any other generation. That was something else I remember learning in MUN was like millennials are the most connected. Like we're so similar, no matter where you live or like whatnot. We're all like just so intertwined and like we know what's happening in other places of the world with people our own age.
Yeah.
So, and like this is why I started speed dating too, because it's hard out there.
The wild, wild west.
Yeah. And I know you've been single for a bit, so how is dating and being single when you're so busy and like traveling and working so much?
It's been, I think, dating has been some of the biggest lessons that I've had to learn, especially doing it as like a woman entrepreneur. So one of the hardest lessons for me to learn in the dating space was that I can't look at it like a business. So much in like entrepreneurship, or if you're in kind of some of those like high pressure professional kind of type jobs, you are consistently rewarded when you are resilient, when you keep pushing through, when you put time and effort into things, when you create goals. Like those characteristics are how you build businesses. Um, and I know I tied a lot of like your personal kind of like self-worth, you tie like how you feel to like hitting those goals. So I was really busy early in my career, and those types of like resiliency pieces, like keep working, put your head down, like push through the toughness, get thicker skin, like those lessons like did help me a lot. And then as your biological click or your biological clock starts ticking, when I got to kind of like that 26, 27 standpoint, I was like, okay, Emily, like you've spent a good part of your 20s like building up such a great friend group, building up your business, like figuring out your professional career, which are big things. Like the next thing is you have to find your person. So in my late 20s, started looking at it like goals of like, okay, I need to go on like this many dates. I need to like put time and effort into this. Like I'm gonna make dating a priority. Like if a guy asks me on a date, I'm gonna say yes to everyone because obviously what I've been doing hasn't been working and thinking that I had a type not working. So started doing that and was getting frustrated and became that story. We all have a friend who has tried too hard in the relationship that pushes through things not being good because they're like, "Oh, I can handle it. I can push through. I'm strong enough to get through this. I can put up with this." And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of amazing coaches, and I usually don't talk about my personal life. I'm like very kind of career set in it. And I went into a session and I was just really distracted and like annoyed, and it was because of the guy that I was seeing at the time. And my coach sat me down. She's like, "What's going on in your head?" And I'm like, "I can't make this work. Like I don't know, like I don't understand what's going through their brain." And she gave me the most impactful kind of like 30-minute deep insight into myself and many women entrepreneurs or like women in that kind of professional field of so much of our life we've been rewarded for putting our head down, for putting in time and effort, for having goals, for like pushing through. And you can't approach dating like that. Like you're not going to find your person by going on as many dates as possible and figuring out how much stress you can handle in that relationship. Like
Yep.
you hear it of like when you haven't experienced it, it's hard to, I think, believe it of like when you find your person, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna make sense. Like it's things are gonna fall into place. Like you're gonna feel like there's a path opening for you, not that you're climbing over rocks and trying to dig a hole to get around something. But it's really hard to tell your brain that this is the one thing in your life that you need to approach totally different, even though you've been positively rewarded your entire life for having goals and putting your head down and putting in effort and pushing through tough times. Um, so that switch from, I think, head to heart has been my greatest dating challenge.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've never heard anyone really put it that way. Like, but I think it makes so much sense because there's so many people who like ignore the little things and like you said, like push through and you're like, oh, I can handle this. Like this is just something small that irritates me or whatever. But if you're not happy and if things aren't working, like as someone who like felt that way and was single for so long and now I have like a good healthy relationship, I'm like, oh my God, this is so easy. Like it, and everyone has their issues or whatever, like things that you need to work through or heated conversations. But like, yeah, it should not be that difficult. And when you do find it and you see someone else like, staying in a relationship too long, like we've all done it, but you just want to be like, like there, I can see so much better for you, and I know it exists, and like it might be harder to find, but like, oh man, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, when you're so used to doing things a certain way, and I do think that there's something to like putting an effort into finding somebody. I think with speed dating, like people like have to be kind of intentional to put themselves out there. And like it's almost better when you look at it as like, okay, this is something I'm just gonna do and try, and like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like I do applaud you for like making an effort to like think about it and put yourself out there because you're also not going to find it by like sitting on your couch every night and not going anywhere and not having any social connections or like putting yourself out there in some way. But it does make sense to like let things go that are not benefiting you.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head there of like you have to be open and you have to show up. So like my first time going to speed dating, I went in there with one of my guy friends that I'm a little too competitive with, which was not the way to do it.
Who's gonna get the most matches?
Exactly. So I went into each of those meetings being like, okay, I need this, like I want this guy to say yes. Like, what do I need to like smile and like be so excited about? Like how do we get as many matches as possible? And that's the entrepreneur in me as well of like, okay, if I get more matches, that it's more likely I'm gonna find my person and one of these people might be my person. But then you also go through this like realization of like I have to show up as me. Like if someone's not going to fall in love with me for being like truly me, you can't spend your entire life putting on a smile and like showing up as what that person wants you to show up to be because it's exhausting and you have to be yourself. So I think what you said is true. Like you need to be open and like intentional and like willing to allow love into your life, but you can't look at it like a test and that there's a timeline and that it needs to be now and that you want to force something that isn't right for you.
Hmm.
And I think I love that you reflected on some of your friends and like how you've watched love grow and be right or wrong for friends as well, because one of those moments, like people talk about these like moments that will stay with you for your rest of your life. And one that stays with me is watching a friend at the time marry someone that we just knew wasn't the right fit for them. And like that feeling as being a friend and like watching this happen, I'm like, I never want any of my girlfriends to feel like that. Like if I'm walking down the altar and all of you are like this is terrible, like this is gonna end in divorce in like 3 weeks, like someone please like pull me before I walk down that aisle. Like tell me like 'cause I think we sometimes want to like people please all of the people that are around us and walking away from a relationship can just feel so daunting and just so like so much. But at the end of the day, like when you pick the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, like you want like that feeling that you're going through now of like this is my person, like I know it. Like I see you interact with your partner and I have no doubt in my mind like you guys are going to spend the rest of your lives together. Like that is such a good feeling,
Yeah.
but it's also such a bad feeling to see it on the opposite side of like this is so wrong. Like why can't you see it?
Yep. And it's hard for people to see until they're out of it. And now I'm like, oh my God, it makes so much sense that like things didn't work with other people. I think the first picture I posted of Bruce, my caption was like, everything makes sense now or whatever. Cause
Yeah.
like I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. Like, why did I try and make it work with all these other losers? And yeah, after that, I was like, oh, this makes sense. And like, I just want that for all my friends.
Yeah. But it's so hard to see. When you don't experience it, it's not a feeling to you can easily describe.
No, no, it makes sense. And what you were saying about, yeah, like almost like the speed dating being like a like I was thinking about I don't know the show or the movie, but there's this movie where and maybe it's Katherine Heigl. Maybe it's The Ugly Truth. I don't know. She goes into it like a date and she's like, you tick like 8 out of 10 boxes and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like that is how I was at one point. Like, I remember dating this guy for like a month or two. And like, looking back, I'm like, he was a loser. Like, there wasn't anything charismatic. There wasn't anything fun. Like, there wasn't anything that matched with my friend group or, like having a good time together. But I was thinking in my head, like, okay, he has his own house. He has a job. Like, there's things that like,
Yeah.
were not there in any other guy that I dated. So it's like you want to kind of hold on to the things that you think will work. And like I'm a super organized person and like I work really hard and that's how I do my job. So like you're thinking the same way about dating. It's like, okay, he has this, like these things work, whatever. I can make it work. I can't find better right now. But
Yeah, I'm the checklist girl. Like there's been a
yeah,
checklist on my phone since I was 18 of
yeah,
like this is what's most important for me with a partner. It's totally fair. Like it's been for like I guess men that are our age, like a little bit higher. Like it's totally kind of against the world that they kind of grew up in. Like they were told to be tough, to like to not cry, to like I don't know, like there's psychology is fascinating.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And I like I could talk about it forever. And like some of what you were talking about, um I did an episode last year on International Women's Day and was kind of talking about that. And I feel like they all, like all the episodes kind of tie in, but there's also, I think I mentioned this on a previous episode too, I can't remember. But there's a book called Datanomics, and
Cool.
it's I forget the author's name, but he looks at all these universities in the States and how when there's more men than women, the women act a certain way, and when there's more women than men, the men act a certain way. And like I just find it all fascinating too. It's crazy how like the environment you're in and like what you've been taught like makes you want certain things. And I think that was a good point too. Like if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, not be the sole financial provider or whatnot, like that's great too. It's like it's just about choice and just us about like it's just about us having the choice to pick and not have it be an expectation.
Definitely. The choice is everything. And it's, I think, what women a generation two, three, four behind us spent so long fighting for was 50, 60, 70 years ago. We didn't have that choice. And now we have the choice to be whoever we want to be. But also, that's also giving room for men to have the same choice to be whoever they want to be.
Yep. Ah, I love it. I always end my episodes with advice, so like doesn't have to be about anything we really talked about. I'm sure you can give advice on a lot of specific topics, but do you want to end with some advice, like maybe something that people share with you or like that you just always share to other people?
The biggest and most impactful piece of advice I've ever been given is understand what brings you true joy, like what makes your heart sing. Like no matter what path you choose in life, you're going to go through ups and downs. We live in a crazy world. Dating has never been more difficult than it is, I think, right now. Um, so I think no matter what point in your career or your life you're in, like understand what brings you true joy because when you know what makes you happy, I think it totally changes how you feel in life and how you show up and how you deal with stress. So my always biggest piece of advice is like figure out what brings you true joy, like what makes your heart sing.
Love that. And that ties into like the dating and the jobs and career path and everything. So I think that is relatable advice, or useful advice, regardless of what you're talking about. Amazing. I mean, I know we could definitely do another episode, like doing a deep dive in some of the things, but I just wanted to do like an overview of like the life that you're living because I'm sure if anyone saw your social media, they'd be like, how is she doing all the things? And I feel like I'm a busy person, but then I'm like, okay, no, Emily is like the busiest person I think I know.
I think it's just find joy in whatever it is that you do, and then it all becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, even if that's like a few different things.
Yeah. So you need
Yeah.
diversity sometimes.
Yeah, but I agree with that. Like I think when you're doing so much, like I used to have a bunch of different jobs when I was in university and like I was coaching and I was cheering and I was so busy. And like I know mom would always be like, you can't do it all. But like I was like, well, I actually like everything I'm doing and I like all my jobs, so I can do all the things right now.
One of my favorite things that I've seen you post ties into that, and it was around like the generation that's in university right now like isn't going out on the weekends, like they're prioritizing health and like they look at our generation of like, oh my God, you guys were such delinquents. You were out at 3 for 5 and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Muggy Monday, and like we were the generation that kind of created that.
Yeah.
But I love that you pointed out of like it's not that we didn't go to school, but we just prioritized our connections with other people so much that we figured it out. And I think the next generation behind us kind of needs to learn how important it is to have connection. And I know they've been through COVID and kind of so many things in this the cell phone boom and social media, but if you have genuine connections with people, you can do so much more than you ever thought you could.
Yeah, I remember seeing that like the breezeway isn't busy
Yeah.
and like someone was like, "Is it true that older generations were doing this? Like is it true that this place used to be bumping and people were like waking up in the morning hungover and like smoking a cigarette on the way to class and whatever?" And it's like, yeah, like I don't think I drank much water. I was not doing Pilates or yoga every day. Like, you know, it's different. But yeah, I think like the happiest memories of like that whole time being so busy is just like all the connections and friends, like friendships that you make during that time.
Yeah. like relationship capital is so much more than financial capital will ever be.
Mhm. Love that. Oh, that's a great note to end on, I think. Well, thank you so much. Do you want to let everyone know where they can find you? Like, if I don't know if there's anything specific with Succeed, like a website or just your social media, like anything, if people kind of want to look you up.
Yeah, my Instagram is all but bland. That's usually the easiest way to find me. And then we spell
Fitting.
succeed incorrectly, so it's SUCSEED .ca.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.